So welcome to the SUPboarder review of the Aqua Marina Rapid. Now I apologise if some of you guys have had to wait a little bit longer for this review. I know after the emails we've been having saying when is this board going to be reviewed, but obviously you know in Europe we have had pretty much the driest summer on record. So to get this board on the water, on Whitewater and down rivers, has been near on impossible until the last few weeks. So we're going to be talking about this board in Whitewater and also from a surf principle. It's pretty much one of the cheapest boards in the market of this size that will be doing those type of things. So the Aqua Marina Rapid is 9'6" long and 33 inches wide and 6 inches thick. It's a pretty lightweight board when weighed. It comes in at 9.5 kilograms and it retails at €599, so it's a very good price point. It comes as standard with 5 PVC indestructible fins, and obviously you get your bag and your pump as well. So like all the Aqua Marina boards, it's got an internal core of drop stitch and multiple layers of PVC wrapped around the board. And this board though, I have to say, is definitely the standout good looking board in the Aqua Marina range. Straight away when we unrolled it from the box, we were really taken back how good this board looks. And even our tester, Payne, when he's looking at it, was amazed how good this board looked in the flesh. And also for a cheap board, it is a very good classy graphic that looks really funky and suits the board itself. So let's have a little bit more talk about the board and what we thought about it via the graphics. So straight away you've got multiple carry points or multiple handles throughout the board, which is exactly what you want for Whitewater. They're great handles in the sense as they're easy to get hold of and they stand out from the board, and they offer you a good amount of grip because they're a firm rubber handle, not like some of the neoprene handles which can fold in your hand. So obviously up at the nose you've got the side points here as well, which is also great for pulling them in and out of rivers, and at the back, and then you've got your central carry handle as well. You've also got the same sort of stuff that the other Aqua Marina boards have, so you've got your bungee straps at the front that you can put on if you want to do a bit of light touring-ish, but you don't really want to do on this board, but anything you want to carry stuff down the river section or just in general when you're paddling, you can put it up there. And then also at the front you've got the sort of GoPro selfie sticks mount that all the Aqua Marina boards have got. Comes as standard, you can plug it in, put your camera on top, and it swivels in all directions. A nice little feature to have. You might not want to use it so much in Whitewater because if the board does turn over and if you're riding in shallow water it might get knocked off, but the option is there. Really big EVA deck pad with the Rapid logos obviously onto it, Aqua Marina printed on the side, and then you've even got a kick pad at the back there, big chunky kick pad, which is great for river surfing and also when you want to take it in some waves, which we'll talk about in a bit. Other nice thing that board's got, as you can see just down there, it's got a little cutout where it looks like there's carbon in the rails. It's not actually really carbon, but it looks really cool, and actually it's really well finished and doesn't look naff. It looks really quite classy, and that just finishes the board off and it makes it look another level and definitely a higher price point. It really is. Comes with a recommended PSI pressure of 18, which is what we pumped it up to when we did our deflection test. And when we put this board in our deflection test, remember we put it on a gap of 1.5 meters apart, and we put 75 kilograms of weight on the center, and then we measure how much the board drops or deflects. It only drops 17 millimeters. Now for a 6-inch thick board, that's what you're going to expect, and actually it's fairly healthy at that sort of material and construction, and definitely the price point, because we've measured other boards that have been up to the 22 mil in drop and they are more expensive than this board. So actually it's a very good drop for the price point of the board. So before we talk about what the board's like on the water and its overall shape, let's have a look at the bag and the pump. So it comes with the Aqua Marina Jumbo pump, which is a single action pump. What I mean by that is, as you pull the pump up, it only pumps when you push the pump down. Some pumps now on the market, they pump air in on the way up and on the way down. The advantage of having a good single action pump is actually it doesn't fatigue you at all on the way up. It's very easy to pull upwards, so that is something to bear in mind. It does take a little bit longer to put the air into the board, but this board isn't a massive board, so it's not actually an issue for this size pump, and it easily pumps the board up to 18 psi, so it's no problem there. And it's got a pressure gauge at the top, so it's stuff you'd expect of a good quality iSUP. Just like the pump, it comes with the same bag as the other Aqua Marina boards have. It's the foldable stuff sack sort of thing, I sort of describe it, because it folds right open and you can roll your board up, clip it inside, and then fold it all back and clip it up. As I said before, it's a very simple process to put the board in and use it. It's not going to keep your car dry, the water's just going to come out really quickly, but it does protect your SUP and it's very lightweight. It's got small sort of padded a little bit backpack straps. I wouldn't want to carry it miles, but you know, it does do the job and it's the sort of thing you'd expect for the price point. So looking at the overall shape of the board, being 9'6" long and 33 inches wide, it gives you a big stable platform, especially for its length. Then in Whitewater, it's very, very forgiving. As Ben, our tester, was explaining to me on the phone earlier, he was saying that basically it's a very forgiving SUP to get into Whitewater in and actually to progress to quite a high level of whitewater paddling. Some paddle boards in the Whitewater, they're a little bit specialist and you need to have better footwork, or you need to have been doing whitewater paddling before to really get the most out of them. This board is very, very easy to use, very easy to control, and breaking in and out of eddies is very easy to do with this size, length and shape board. The rocker line or the curve at the front of the board there is perfect for getting on play waves. It doesn't stall or slow you down, and also you haven't got to work around the board too much. The board's very easy to use when it comes to river surfing, and also that does help with the fin setup. So let's turn this board over and have a look at this. So it comes with a 5 fin setup, all PVC indestructible fins. The great thing about that, obviously from a river surfing point of view, is they are indestructible and you haven't got to worry about if you hit rocks and stuff like that. 4 sort of quad setups out on the rail, they're a bit smaller, and 1 sort of slightly bigger but more swept back central fin. The good thing about having very short fins, especially in a river environment, is remember when you're whitewater paddling, you don't necessarily want to go out when it's a big amount of water moving down the river. You can paddle rivers that are you know, 6 to a foot high in depth, and actually a fin setup like that is very easy to use. Ben was also saying because of this fin setup, because it's 5 fins, it's very directional, it's very easy to point the board where it wants to go, and actually there's enough drag in the fins to actually get there and break in and out of eddies and ferry glide easily. Another good thing for whitewater paddling or getting into river surfing is it has got sort of D-rings up at the front on the nose there, and at the back on the top and the bottom at the back there. So just in case your board gets stuck or you get in trouble, you might get away from your board but your board might be pinned or stuck against a tree or a rock, you can always get a leashing point, get a throw line on it and pull the board out. It's just good to have those sort of things set up ready for the board in every angle. And again, that's sort of why it's nice to have the handles in all the positions on the top of the board and the front and the back. The more handles, the more leashing points you have, especially with whitewater, really makes a big difference to the ease of use and the safety of the board. So for whitewater, this board really is an easy board to use, and as Ben was saying, he was explaining it as for progressional boards from 0 to hero, this is a board that does it all very, very well. And it really impressed him how easy it was to get people on it who hadn't been river surfing before, and they could get down the river and they could catch some waves and break in and out of eddies and ferry glide very easy on a board like this. Obviously for flat water paddling, because it's 9'6" long by 33, it's not the fastest of boards at all, and it does tend to push water. So you can paddle this on flat water and it's going to take your weight, and it's going to take quite a bit of weight as well, so you can put equipment up at the front there, but it's definitely not very fast. Now for the surf, same as in the whitewater sense, it's quite well set up in its length and its width and with the fin setup, so it's super stable and it will catch some fairly good waves. The downside for the surf is because it is 6 inches thick, you're not going to be able to use the rail so much to help turn and pivot the board, which when it comes to surfing is quite a big point. But there is 5 fins there which will help you catch those waves and trim down the line. So who do we think this board's best suited for? Well, I would explain it as an action-packed supper. You could get into river paddling with this. You could catch waves on the coast with this. Yes, you could flat water paddle this, but it is going to be a bit slow. But if you're into that sort of slightly more adventurous action side of the sport, you are going to be able to do a huge amount on this board. Rider weights, well, it's going to be 50 kilo riders up to about maybe 95 kilo riders. It would take more weight than that, but maybe the length might then be an issue because the nose will be sitting a bit further down in the water. So pros and cons and value for money. Well, whitewater paddling, if you're getting into whitewater paddling or you're thinking about it, this is a very good board to look at. Very well set up, completely straight out the box. If you want to get into surfing, you're going to be able to do that as well. Not going to be as good as some other surfboards that are slightly thinner in thickness, but it is still going to get you on the water and you're going to have a lot of fun. Cons, well, one is a con and one is something you need to be aware of. Something you have to be aware of, white deck pad. Especially in the UK, if you're into river paddling, there's usually mud involved and that does stain your deck pad, or it does mean you have to scrub it a bit more. But if you're not worried about that, that's not an issue. The only con that I did find is the handle. It does sink at the tail when you're carrying it, so it needs to be a little bit further forward. But then if you weighted it up with a clip on front and your GoPro on the front, it would probably be balanced about right. So it's another small con, but it's definitely something that I think is worth noting. And value for money, well, at €599, it is a very competitive price point board, as many of you have been telling us with emails and through comments on YouTube. Now, it definitely is worth that money, absolutely, without a doubt. You do get a lot of board for the money, and the way it's made and the way that it's set up with all the handles and the various leashing points, it really has been thought out, especially for the whitewater paddlers. So I hope you found that SUPboarder video interesting. Remember, check out SUPboarder Pro, where I talk about this in a bit more detail and compare it to some other boards in the market. But until next time, we'll see you on YouTube or on SUPboarder. Thanks a lot.